Hello, and a warm welcome to Living the Dream French Riviera. This podcast shares inspiring stories of women who moved to the south of France, reinvented their lives, and built meaningful careers. In each episode, we step into their journeys with insights, advice, and a glimpse of what life is really like in this beautiful region. I'm your host, Cecile Liconnet. Today I'm joined by Patricia. After mastering English through Immersion in the UK, she chose to offer that same experience to people relocating to the south of France or visiting the Riviera. Through her work, she combines language learning with real cultural discovery, and she's become an expert at showing the very best of this region. I'm delighted to share her story with you. And Patricia, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm really looking forward to hearing your journey from your time living abroad to returning to France and creating a life and business here on the Riviera. You now help expats and visitors feel at home in Nice through your teaching and cultural experiences. But let's start at the beginning. When did you settle in the south of France? What brought you here? And what was life like at the time?
Right, so hello, thank you for having me. So I arrived in Nice in 2000, so that's 25 years ago. And before that, I lived in Versailles, in the Paris regions, because I'm native from the south of France. I just wanted to go back to the sun and the light and the seaside. So that, yeah, I've been living in Nice for 25 years now. And that's how I started my business 5 years ago.
You speak very good English for a French person.
Right, well, I studied foreign languages when I was a student. I had a degree in Spanish and English. And then I went to work in London for 7.5 years at the airport. So that's when I practiced what I had learned at university. Because just studying is not enough to be bilingual and speak properly. So my experience at the airport and just total immersion in the English way of life is what, gave me this comfort. After the airport in London, I decided to come back to France, and I ended up in Versailles. And that's when I began teaching, actually. I found a replacement in a school, just a few hours a week. I had a young kid at that time. I got pregnant in Versailles as well, so I had 2 young kids, I would say. So I just accepted a few hours teaching in a high school, and that's how I started teaching.
Then you decide to move to Nice.
Correct.
You transferred your teaching skills from Versailles to Nice? How?
Well, it's just my husband at the time got promoted in the south of France. So because I was dying to come back to the south of France, we accepted to come back to Nice. And then I carried on teaching, and I started the preparation of the competitive exam, which is called a concours, to have a permanent position, a permanent teaching job in Nice. And because I chose to work in a private school, I stayed in a school where I started replacing. So I stayed in that same school for about 24 years.
So you're happily in Nice, living in the sun, enjoying life, teaching English.
English, yeah.
In a French private school.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you decide to start your business 5 years ago. How did you come to that?
Right. It's not really all of a sudden. It's a slow process, I would say. Just a few years before COVID, I started thinking about my retirement and how I could be active and still work without working, something a bit fun, just a few hours a week or something like that. And actually, I just watched 2 programs on TV. One of a lady who opened a language school. And on top of the studies, she organized cooking classes and other activities, going to the market and just, live the real life and speaking real French, not the language we study in books. So I thought that was fun. and another program about a lady who opened another language school and who dealt with expat spouses. Because usually expat spouses, they come with their husband and then they don't speak the language and they don't know anybody usually and they're just stuck and, you know. So I thought, well, why not? And then COVID struck and I watched a lot of TV because, you know, during the lockdown, watching TV and videos. And I really was touched by all these people who couldn't go back to their countries because there were no flights and they were stuck here in France, not speaking the language. So I thought maybe there's something here and I could do, you know. So after the lockdown, I decided that I had to do something. So I started with a business incubator, and the idea was helping expat spouses, expat women on the French Riviera, and helping them with the language. So that's how, you know, everything was after COVID, basically.
Can you tell us more about this business incubator? How did you find it and how they helped you?
So I went to France Travail, so the job center, asking how they could help me or give me ideas, actually. That's, I think I went to a workshop and they talked about business incubator, starting your own business. At that time, I didn't really think about starting my business. But business incubator is an association. You sign a contract for 1 year. You can have 3 contracts, if I remember, and they help you. So every month you go to workshops and they help you with what you need, actually. If you ask for ideas, they will tell you what you could develop, and they just take 10% of your turnover. So because I was a teacher and I had been teaching for years, I didn't have a clue basically about invoicing, marketing, and, you know, and especially after COVID, there were not a lot of people coming to the French Riviera. So at the beginning, I wanted to teach expat spouses, but nobody really came. So that was a bit tricky. And that's when the advisor of the business incubator advised me to say, you know, you could offer your services to tourists, go to the old town, go to the market. And so she helped me with all of that, basically giving me ideas and how to invoice. I didn't have a clue. And, you know, going on social media, for example. And so it's a lot of people having projects and ideas. So in this incubator, there was somebody who wanted to have a business doing websites. So he did my websites for free. And I helped him with English, with his website. So that was a good start, actually, because at the beginning, I didn't have a lot of clients because after COVID, as I said, people were scared to travel, first of all, you know. So that's basically how I started. I stayed 2 years, and after 2 years, I thought I was comfortable enough to carry on my business by myself, basically.
I have 2 questions. It's very interesting.
Sure. Yeah.
So the first one is, you were still teaching at the time. So even if when you're employed, you can go to the unemployment office and ask questions. And the second one is, how in this incubator people understood what you wanted to do and had idea and had advice, because I imagine there could have been people who wanted to be musicians, some people who wanted to build a website, so all sorts of activities, and still they managed to give you advice that helped you.
Of course. So the first is the job center, I would say. Well, I just said, you know, I was teaching, and obviously I didn't want to be paid benefits or whatever. So I just said, you know, where can I go to have information? So that's how they helped me, saying there's a workshop about creating your business. So I went. I just thought maybe they will give me advice, addresses to go to, information basically. So that's your first question. And the second question is for the business incubator. Yeah, there was a lot of people. There was a lady wanted to create her creative workshops business. She was doing, do you remember, like embroidery, I think. So there was this lady. So like once a month we could have meetings all together, speaking about our struggles, and we could give each other's ideas. Or we could go to see the advisor every month, and then she would ask what. Obviously, she would maybe give you homework to do. So actually, she helped me doing my flyers. Then she said, no, you should change because it's not very good and that doesn't represent your business. And yeah, so it took me 2 years to have all this sorted out, basically, and then to do it by myself.
Incredible. So your hurdle was your biggest hurdles was to find clients, because there were not that many trailing spouses, but once you went into that tourist business, did this take off?
Well, tourist business is just during the tourist season, basically over summer, I would say. I'm quite lucky because in Nice there's always something going on and there's always people coming, even in winter. But I've got to really look on social media. I belong to different groups. I really, answer people when they ask for information. So it depends on the year. And basically, really, my business is about teaching French, not really going around the city. And so, yeah, I just go. And sometimes people don't speak French. They just want to do the tour in English, which I'll do it, of course. So, sometimes they say, forget the French part. So we just go to the old town or the flower market or the old town and we just have a tour.
Did your time in the UK influence the way you're doing things?
Yeah, well, I think because it's everyday English that I had to use, and all my studies, actually, when you think about it, I had studied English for 10 years before I went to London. And really, I could say that didn't help a lot, except for the grammar, because then you can make correct sentences. But the everyday vocabulary, I didn't know. And especially at the airport, there's a terminology about the flights and baggage, and there's some technical words that I didn't know. So I had to learn that. And I had to learn oddly everyday vocabulary that I didn't know, actually. And also the pronunciation. Obviously, at the beginning, I did a lot of mistakes with the pronunciation, like bowl, ball, and that sort of things, So that was difficult. But because I had studied and I had really good basics, I would say, because at university you learn a lot of grammar, you learn the history, so that obviously helped me. And I would say it took me about 6 months to understand and speak, and understand TV, for example, which was the worst, the radio as well. So 6 months, and I had, quite good level before starting. So I can relate to people now. That's why I'm not really in favor of learning list of words and list of verbs, and I think that doesn't help. So when I teach, we practice useful sentences that they will use if they want to go to the market or if they want to order at a restaurant. That's, people are really interested in that. Or if they go to the post office, really everyday situation, going to the pharmacy. That's if you don't know what you want and if you don't know the words, then you cannot speak. Actually, what I offer is bespoke programs. So people ask me what they want to do. Let's say they say, I want to go to the post office, or I need to go to the pharmacy. So sometimes you practice a bit. It depends on their level. Some people really speak good French, even if they make mistakes. It doesn't matter, but people will understand. So yeah, we rehearse sometimes before, and then I go with them to the post office or the pharmacy, and then yeah, they speak, and if they don't understand what people say, then I will repeat or I will explain, and I'm just here to help actually. And they say that it helps them boost their confidence, you know, because they feel like if they don't understand, if they're stuck, I'll be there to help them. So that's a good experience to boost your self-confidence.
Have you had already some very rewarding feedback?
Well, I'm lucky enough to have good reviews. I mean, everybody sort of says that, you know, real life situations help them going to the market and or whatever. Yeah, everybody's happy because it helps them. You know, they feel helped, and yeah, usually they enjoy it.
So the good thing is you were teaching at a school, so you had your summer kind of free, which is when it's full tourist seasons. Was there some moment when it was difficult to balance both the teaching and your business?
Well, obviously I couldn't have as many clients as I wanted, but basically because I work with American clients with a time difference, it works out fine. So I usually work from 5 p.m., so in the afternoon, and during summer and the school holidays. And because people are usually getting ready for their retirement, sometimes they don't work or they're quite flexible. So if I say we cannot have the cooking class in September, but in October when I'm on holiday, then sometimes they say, yes, it's fine, you know, we follow your schedule.
I've noticed in the recent months that many Americans are planning or are moving to the French Riviera. Do they turn to you?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, there's an important American community in Nice and on the French Riviera. People who say we want to get out, and you know, can you help us with the language or sometimes with the paperwork, or they just want to ask about my services. But I've noticed a change in the conversation. So they used to say, can you help us because we're planning to retire? But now, I mean, I've had about 2 or 3 persons saying we want to get out, and so could you help us, you know, or what are your services? What could you do for us, and how could you help us?
How do you value your time? How did you decide how much you would invoice to your clients? Was this difficult?
The business incubator helped me. Mm-hmm. That's when she said to me, you should invoice. Well, you should have a look at the competition, and then yeah, you could decide. So obviously I'm still looking around, you know, how much people charge. And then, yeah, I think it's an average. But I decided, yeah, depending on how much time, or sometimes it's a package, or, yeah, how much time I spend. So that's how I decided, yeah, how much I should charge.
When do you decide to charge more?
Right. I give a lot of bonuses, actually. So let's say people get in touch with me, and that will be a free Zoom call, of course, when we decide what they need, and I just say, you know, how much basically I charge. But I know that the tour of the market, for example, when they do exercises, or if we just have a tour of the city, that takes about an hour and a half. So usually we visit for an hour and they speak for an hour, and then we have a coffee for about 30 minutes. But if it's 40 or 45 minutes, I'm not going to charge. I've said an hour and a half, and if we are in the middle of the conversation, I'm not going to say, hey, stop, you know. So it's just relaxed conversation. So I know it's an hour and a half, and then, yeah, during the coffee session, they could ask anything about the culture, about whatever they have the question, how should I ask this or how should I ask that? So basically, yeah, I know how much time I would spend. When I go to the chateau, for example, where we have wine tasting, I know it takes about between 3 and 4 hours. So I charge for 3 and 4 hours. But that includes the visit, the wine tasting, the guided tour. So yeah, it's more or less, I know how much I'm going to spend beforehand, so I charge for that time.
You're talking about the competition. Who are they? Are there many people doing what you're doing, or are you quite unique?
So I'm quite unique in the fact that I go with people to places, for example, the post office, the pharmacy, the flower market as well, or just the market. We do exercises. And I wanted to be unique because there are thousands of French teachers on the French Riviera who would love to teach expats, obviously, because these people usually are motivated, they're quite, nice, they're really interested, they're Francophiles usually, they really like the culture, so it's really pleasant to teach them. So I had to find something a bit original. And also because I didn't want to do the same as I did in the middle school and the high school. Because adults, they probably don't want to have strict rules, and so it had to be a compromise.
When you were still doing both, teaching at school and doing your business, did it give a little bit of fresh air to your teaching in high school?
Of course, yes, it did. And that's why I enjoyed it very much, and that's why I quit and I decided to devote my time to my business. Yeah, because as I said, these were adults, motivated, they wanted to learn. When they choose to study and to learn French, they have to study, they are really willing. And it just reminded me the atmosphere of working at the airport, meeting a lot of people from different countries or places. So they're really interesting and really nice people. So yeah, it gave me fresh air, obviously, from my students.
Were you prepared of how international this area is?
No, I thought that was basically British people who came to live here. And I was really surprised to find that a lot of Americans, basically, that is the biggest community, I think, in Nice. Mm-hmm. And maybe on the French Riviera. But I was really surprised, yeah.
And the Scandinavians?
And yes.
Maybe they're not your clients.
Some of them are, yeah.
I'd like to move now to reflection and personal growth. Looking back now, I'd love to hear how this journey has shaped you, both professionally and personally. What have you learned about yourself through this journey?
Well, I think it gave me the opportunity to do what I really love. I just love meeting people. I love teaching as well.
What's the mindset that helped you along the way?
I think because people gave me really positive reviews, that really encouraged me to carry on.
Looking back, what would you do differently, if anything?
I would start maybe a bit younger. Yeah, I wouldn't wait to be that old. Well, I'm not that old, but yeah, maybe I could, if I had started maybe 5 years before, maybe that would have made a difference. I don't know.
Anything you'd wish you'd known before?
That maybe I had the opportunity to create a business, because that wasn't really my objective in life. Yeah.
What advice would you give to someone wanting to launch a similar teaching practice here?
Maybe study if people need their services.
Was there a defining moment when you thought, yes, I've made it?
Well, I think last summer, so actually just 2 months ago, I posted on social media that I had quit my teaching job, and I had really a huge feedback. People really congratulated me, and they spoke about it. So people who used my services or my tools, they spoke about it and they said how nice it was, and yeah, that was really big time for me. Yeah.
So now you're full on into
I'm full on
French Riviera expat services.
Yes, that's right.
Wonderful, congratulations.
Thank you.
How do you think your life might have unfolded if you hadn't made the move? But which one? Coming back, coming to the south of France, maybe? If you had stayed in Versailles?
I wouldn't have stayed there. No.
Has teaching in this way given you a new perspective on French culture?
Yeah, because I have to look for information now. I've got to look for history because I'm not from Nice, even if I've been living here for 25 years. So I try to find new, interesting workshops and places to go to. So I have to learn, and that's what I like as well, using my brain to learn. Yeah.
I know you came back from the UK a long, long time ago, but do you feel fully back at home, or are there still moments where you feel in between cultures?
Yeah, sometimes in between. I think you don't forget when you have lived abroad.
So you're taking your clients to all these stunning places on the Riviera. You know them all. Do you ever feel like you're on kind of permanent holiday yourself?
Oh yeah, that's for sure.
So you would say that you've managed to create something you love so much that it doesn't ever feel like work?
No, it doesn't. No, it's just I really like this place. And yeah, it's not work. I mean, going to the flower market is different every day, basically. When you go to the promenade, the color of the sea is different. The light is amazing. So yeah, it's really pleasure.
It's never repetitive.
No, never.
Unlike your teaching job in high school, when every year you had to start again.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say my job in high school was repetitive, because when you teach, you repeat the rules, but the reactions of the students are always different. You have sometimes different questions, so that is quite interesting, interaction with the students. So I didn't feel that it was repetitive. It was just maybe the age gap that became challenging.
Living somewhere for a long time, we often don't notice its beauty because it feels like part of the everyday decor. How has showing the Riviera to foreigners helped you to see it with fresh eyes?
As I said, the light is different whether you go and visit in the morning or in the evening. The city might be different. Sometimes it's cloudy here, overcast as well. It can happen, but it's still nice.
And for example, I don't know, there's many Art Deco buildings in Nice. Maybe you notice them more now than you did before?
Of course, because now, I started posting a lot of photos actually, and that's really how I got my community, I would say. So now, because I take a lot of photos, I look up and I can see all these frescoes and Art Deco architecture, which is beautiful.
All the little details that we never noticed before.
You don't. I mean, if you just go to work, I mean, I used to drive to work, so obviously I didn't notice. And then the last 2 years I used to go to work with a tram, so it's always the same trip, I would say, and I didn't really notice. But when I go and walk in the streets now, and yes, I've noticed that the architecture is beautiful here. This is really a nice city.
You never have a day that looks like that is the same than the previous. It's every day is different.
It's every day different. Yeah.
It's amazing. To finish, let's talk a little about the Riviera life today. You spend so much time taking your students to different places across the region, from wine estates to cultural sites. So you must have developed a real insider's perspective on the Riviera. What is life on the Riviera really like day to day? Is it as glamorous as it seems?
It can be glamorous, yeah. It can be glamorous. Not maybe Nice, but Antibes or Juan-les-Pins, with all these artists who lived there, yeah. My visits are really focused in Nice. All my workshops are in Nice. It's easy for people to come, whether by train or tram or whatever. And I think I like the city more and more than I did when I arrived here, because obviously I know different places and really nice, and I try to find hidden gems.
And would you like to share any hidden gem or a special place, one of your favorite places?
I know that in the old Nice, in the old town actually, there's a wash house where people used to do the laundry. And it used to be a place where executioner used to wash their axe, I think, after their execution. Yeah. So I discovered that maybe a year ago. And it's really somewhere, in the streets, and you really have to know it. I mean, it was a bit scary when I went there. I thought, these streets are a bit narrow, and
that's fascinating. What's the name of this place?
I think it's Le Lavoir. It's called Le Lavoir, the wash house, and now they've planted some flowers inside, so I've got to go back so I can do a before and after.
You go to all these iconic places as well. Which one is the most iconic in the region, in your opinion?
For me, I would say just the old town is beautiful, with the light on some buildings. It's beautiful, and the promenade along the seaside, because the color, as I said, the color of the sea changes every day depending on the weather.
What's your favorite thing about living here?
Honestly, I mean, it may look a bit boring, but I like walking on the sea, along the seaside, and go to the flower market at the old town. I don't go every day because that would be repetitive and boring, but I like to go once a week. And as I said, if it's rainy or overcast or sunny, that's just different.
Would you describe a little bit the flower market? Because this is something unique here in Nice, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. There's another market just down here, about 10 minutes, where there's a lot of fishmongers that really like showing this market as well. But there's not as many flowers as the one in Cours-Saléa.
How do you see the region evolving culturally or professionally?
The city wants to attract a lot of tourists, so we had a lot of luxury hotels. I mean, tourism is part of the main activity, I would say.
And do you think all this wave of new arrival will play a role in the region, in the way it evolves?
I don't know. I don't think so, because, well, there are people who work in the high-tech hub, which is called Sofia Antipolis. But that's a different age range to the people I have as clients who are basically retired. So I don't know how that could be a way of making the city evolve.
Have you seen the city evolving in the 20 years you've been here? Has it changed?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, first of all, with the tram, going from the airport and to the airport, which is quite a nice way and cheap way, instead of using the car. A lot of green areas that have been built instead of car parks. It has become a green city. I think that's the really something that the mayor of Nice wants to emphasize.
I feel when I come to Nice that it is becoming more modern and more green. Do you think it's going into that direction?
Yeah, more green, that's for sure, yeah.
Wonderful. Patricia, thank you so much for joining us. Your story is a true reminder that when passion meets pleasure, work can feel like joy and life on the Riviera becomes even richer. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Patricia's stories is a wonderful example of turning passion into purpose and of creating a life where every day feels more like a celebration than work. Thank you for listening to Living the Dream French Riviera. If you enjoyed today's episode, please share, follow and like. It really helps others discover the podcast. You can find more about Patricia and other inspiring women building meaningful lives on the Riviera on our website, livingthedreampodcast.com. And if you'd like to support my work, you'll also find a link there to help me keep creating new episodes of Living the Dream. A heartfelt thank you to Claire Long, whose music adds warmth and emotion to every episode. I'm Cecile Liconnet, and this has been Living the Dream French Riviera podcast. À bientôt!